You know that feeling, right? That little nagging sense that maybe you're wearing a mask, like you're playing a part that someone else wrote for you. Maybe it's at work, maybe with family. It's that whisper of, well, an unlived life.
Exactly. That moment you realize you're like the lead actor in a story,
Mm?
but you didn't write the script.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're digging into today.
Yeah, we're looking at this new book, The Unscripted Self. Embrace Your Authentic Story to Find True Belonging and Purpose by Angel Gabriel.
Just out from Anat, published 2025.
And our goal here isn't just to relay information, it's about showing the path to transformation that this book promises. It really aims to shift your whole reality from, say, obligation to real alignment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The book really frames this powerful before and after. Think about living life based on what everyone else expects. It's exhausting, right?
Totally.
The transformation it promises is about shedding that mask, that facade, and finding a deep sense of belonging that comes from inside you. It's not about getting external validation.
That's the crucial bit. So the big question for this deep dive is, how does the book actually guide you to make that internal shift? That's what we want to explore, drawing out the core ideas, starting with the problem itself. These invisible scripts.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack those first. Because they're not necessarily, bad or malicious. Often they're just these deeply embedded societal rules or family expectations about how we should act, how we should be.
Uh-huh.
And they become this kind of background noise that we start mistaking for our own voice.
They're sneaky because they're often so subtle. Like, the unspoken rule that you always have to say yes to your boss, or maybe the idea that you should avoid conflict at all costs, even if it means silencing yourself. What's the real price of keeping up that act?
Well, the book paints a pretty stark picture. It talks about a gnawing disconnect, that feeling of being utterly alone, adrift in a sea of prescribed behaviors.
Wow.
Because think about it, if you're constantly twisting yourself to fit some mold, genuine belonging is impossible. People can't accept the real you if you never show it.
Chapter 1 dives into some common ones, like the typical corporate ladder or hitting certain relationship milestones by a certain age. But what's an invisible script people might not even recognize they're following? Something hiding in plain sight.
That's a great question. Gabriel often highlights the script of perpetual happiness. This idea, hugely amplified by social media, that we always have to seem successful, vibrant, happy.
Right.
So when we inevitably feel sad or fail at something, we hide it. We think those perfectly normal human feelings are somehow wrong. That hiding, that's the performance.
That really resonates. Now, I know the book has a specific assessment tool to help you see this in your own life, and obviously you need the book for the full questions and analysis. But is there an insight from that assessment process people could start thinking about now, just to gauge that obligation versus alignment gap?
Well, one key thing the book prompts you to look at is your energy. Where does your energy actually go?
Okay.
If doing something consistently leaves you feeling drained, resentful, maybe even a bit bitter afterwards, chances are that's obligation talking.
Ah, I see.
But if inaction, even if it's hard work, feels energizing or fulfilling, that's more likely aligned with your authentic self. Just starting to notice which activities fill you up versus which ones empty the tank. That's the beginning of identifying the mask.
So, okay, step 1 is bravely recognizing the performance, seeing the mask. What's next? The book talks about finding your own internal guidance system, right? Moving into this sanctuary of your truest self.
Yeah, exactly. If step 1 is taking off the costume, step 2 is finding the real you underneath. This is where the book suggests the real liberation happens.
How?
By teaching you how to tune into those quieter signals from your inner compass. It introduces this powerful idea of identity-based habits. The core concept is that lasting change doesn't come from focusing just on what you do, but on who you believe yourself to be.
Okay, explain that a bit more.
So instead of just trying to eat healthy food, you cultivate the identity of I am a healthy person. When that's your core belief, the healthy actions tend to follow more naturally. It's about changing the root, not just the branches.
That makes sense. And Gabriel brings in some big ideas here. Identity-based habits, okay, but also the will to meaning, drawing from Viktor Frankl. Is that just a fancy way of saying finding your purpose? How is it distinct?
It's related, but more specific. The will to meaning suggests our primary drive isn't just pleasure or power, but finding meaning, especially, even when things are tough.
Right, even in suffering.
Yes. It's the drive that fuels what the book later calls tragic optimism. It's not about ignoring difficulty, but finding the meaning within it, or despite it. That's a key difference from just chasing happiness.
And to make this less abstract, the book offers practical ways to figure this out for yourself, like those prompts for self-discovery it mentions.
Exactly. It's not just theory. It gives you structured ways to translate these ideas into personal insight. For example, a prompt like, what injustices stir your soul? If reading that makes you feel a strong reaction, maybe anger about pollution or sadness about inequality, that emotion isn't random. It's like a compass needle pointing towards a core value, maybe contribution, maybe justice, maybe stewardship.
I see.
And the book includes a detailed core value categories. Self-assessment again, something you really need the book to work through properly that helps you identify and anchor yourself in your specific values, whether that's creativity, freedom, connection, whatever truly lights you up. This deliberate process is what the book calls building the architecture of a life lived on your terms.
Building that internal architecture. Love that. But okay, even if you figure out your values, it's not always smooth sailing, is it? We all have baggage. Does the book get into dealing with that resistance?
Oh, absolutely. It calls that resistance the echoes within. These are those deep-seated stories we tell ourselves, often rooted in past experiences. You know, the ones, I'm not good enough, I'm unlovable, I'll be rejected if I show my true self.
Yeah, those old tapes playing.
Exactly. They were often survival strategies that helped us cope back then, but now they just keep us playing small. They're like this internal critic on repeat.
So what's the book's approach to healing that? It mentions profound self-empathy. What does that actually look like in practice?
It's about learning to acknowledge those critical whispers without letting them define you now. It's not about fighting them or agreeing with them, but understanding where they came from.
Okay.
You learn to see those old, painful survival strategies with compassion, essentially turning them from active critics into understood history. This creates what the book calls an internal sanctuary. And a key part of this, detailed in one of the book's roadmaps, is practicing the pillars of self-compassion.
Which are?
Mindfulness, just noticing your thoughts without judgment, self-kindness, treating yourself as you would a good friend, and common humanity.
Let's pause on that last one, common humanity. That term can be a bit fuzzy sometimes. How does the book define it here?
In this context, it's the simple but profound realization that suffering, making mistakes, feeling imperfect, these aren't signs that you are uniquely flawed. They are part of the universal human experience.
Ah, okay.
When you feel inadequate, remembering that millions of other people feel the exact same way breaks down that isolating shame. It connects you rather than separates you.
That shift feels huge. And this self-empathy, this healing work, it leads into another major concept in the book, radical acceptance,
Yeah.
which, as you said, isn't about giving up.
Not at all. The book frames radical acceptance as a really courageous, active choice. It's about consciously deciding to stop fighting reality, to stop the internal war against your perceived flaws, and instead to befriend your entire experience, good and bad.
Befriending your reality.
Yes. And this acceptance, this internal peace treaty, is where an unshakable sense of belonging truly starts to grow. To illustrate this, the book offers a really insightful comparative analysis again, exclusive content, contrasting what it feels like to operate from self-judgment versus self-compassion.
Can you give us the core difference there? If someone messes up, how does the reaction change based on those two modes?
Okay. The fundamental difference is this. From self-judgment, failure feels like proof of a permanent internal flaw. I failed, therefore I'm a failure or I am stupid. This leads to hiding, blaming, getting defensive.
Right. Shutting down.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But from self-compassion, failure is seen as an event, something temporary and often external, or at least learnable. The thought process is more like, okay, that didn't work out, that hurts. What can I learn from this? The self-compassionate person sees the failure, but doesn't fuse their identity with it. The self-judging person becomes the failure. That shift in perspective, the book argues, changes absolutely everything about how you move forward.
Okay, so you build this inner foundation, you know your values, you practice self-compassion, you work towards radical acceptance. Then the focus shifts outwards. The book talks about building an external life that matches the internal one.
Precisely. Once that inner sanctuary feels more solid, the book provides the kind of architectural plans for manifesting that authenticity in the real world. It's about intentional action.
How does that look practically?
It involves things like cultivating those atomic habits we mentioned earlier, small, consistent actions that reinforce your true identity, and crucially, learning to set clear, compassionate boundaries.
Boundaries are so key for protecting your energy and staying authentic. The book apparently breaks down different types of boundaries: direct, Indirect and proactive. What's the difference there? This sounds really practical.
It is. It's one of the most actionable parts. So direct boundaries are pretty straightforward. Saying no clearly or stating your need directly, I can't make that meeting, or I need some quiet time now.
Got it.
Indirect boundaries are more subtle. Maybe shifting the topic, giving a non-committal answer, or delaying stuff like, let me check my calendar and get back to you, when you really mean no. These are useful when directness might feel unsafe or, culturally tricky.
Okay. And proactive.
Proactive boundaries are the game changers, according to the book. This is about setting expectations before a potential issue even comes up. Things like, just so you know, I turn off work notifications after 6 p.m., or I generally need 24 hours notice for requests like this. It safeguards your time and energy up front.
Learning which one to use when sounds like a skill in itself.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the book aims to teach you that discernment. It's about radical self-preservation, but done thoughtfully.
And to help navigate interactions after you've set these boundaries, Gabriel pulls in some established wisdom, too. I saw a reference to the 4 agreements.
Yes, the book integrates those timeless principles like be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, as a sort of guide for interacting authentically.
Right.
And importantly, don't make assumptions, which pushes you to seek clarity instead of inventing stories, and always do your best, which offers grace for the fact that your best will fluctuate. Using these helps ensure your relationships are built on respect, both for yourself and others.
All this work, internal and external, building habits, setting boundaries, it leads to what the book calls true belonging. How is that different from just, fitting in with a group?
Huge difference. The book draws a really sharp contrast. Fitting in is conditional. You're changing yourself, performing to match what you think the group wants. It takes constant effort, high energy cost.
Yeah, exhausting.
True belonging, on the other hand, is inherent. It's the feeling of being accepted for who you actually are, flaws and all. It's low energy because you're not pretending. It thrives on vulnerability and mutual respect. And the book provides guidance, including an implementation roadmap on how to actually cultivate a tribe friends community that celebrates the real unscripted you.
So pulling it all together, shedding those old scripts, finding your core values, healing the inner critic with self-compassion, building habits and boundaries, fostering real connections, the end result is this unscripted life, a life with purpose and, what was the term? Resilient joy.
Resilient joy, yes.
Yeah.
And that ties back to that idea of tragic optimism.
Right.
It's not about pretending everything's perfect or being happy all the time.
Right.
It's the capacity to find meaning, to choose your response, even when things are difficult. It's experiencing gratitude alongside hardship, not instead of it. That ability to choose your perspective, your meaning, that's where lasting resilient joy comes from, according to Gabriel.
It sounds like a profound journey, and clearly it's an ongoing one. We've touched on the big ideas, the frameworks, the core concepts like self-compassion versus judgment. But for the detailed how-to, the specific self-assessments, the step-by-step roadmaps like the Practicing Authentic Resilience daily roadmap, well, you really need to immerse yourself in the book itself.
That's right. The full guidance, the tools, the structured process, it's all laid out in the Unscripted Self.
It truly promises the tools to, as the book says, author a masterpiece your own life.
Which leads us to the final thought we want to leave you with. If this book genuinely offers a pathway, a structured approach, to reclaiming your own story and living with more joy and connection, what's the real cost of not doing it? What's the cost of continuing to live by someone else's script, even for one more day?